What's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Stigler. I'm a pro footballer performance coach. I'm gonna get you guys upper body, lower body, and ab exercises that I can guarantee that you have never seen before and are going to absolutely transform your routine. Because a lot of these exercises actually utilize lower body abs and upper body in the same exercise. And not that that's always a good thing, but when you can find those exercises that incorporate all three of those things without really taking away from either part of the body, that is where the magic happens. So make sure to watch this video all the way through, add some of these exercises into your next routine, and make sure to let me know how you like them. And if you like them, make sure to like the video, maybe even subscribe. And if you hate them, also like the video and make sure to subscribe anyway, because I'm sure I'm gonna get you guys something that you like eventually. I've been doing this for too long not to. We're really figuring out how to navigate this camera. Okay, that looks relatively even. You guys are gonna have to deal with that. So I'm sure you guys have seen that clip of that one girl who threw that ball in from throwing like 45 yards. If you're looking to try and do something like that, this is gonna be the exercise for you. We're doing a bilateral dumbbell pullover with bent arms. The reason we're doing it with bent arms is we're gonna get a big stretch in the triceps as well by doing that. We're gonna get a ton of spinal extension. And then as we do it, we're eccentrically loading that one position so we can get more range of motion, and then we're concentrically working on producing force here. You guys will see what I mean. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take two dumbbells. For me, these are gonna be pretty light, because again, I'm not terribly strong in this position. And what we're gonna do with our shoulders on this bench, you guys have ever done like a barbell hip thruster? It's gonna be the same thing here, okay? So we're here. I wanna work on extending the spine as much as I can as I do this exercise. And because I just came from a car ride, just by doing this, I felt my spine crack so intensely. So here we go, we got these two relatively light dumbbells. We're gonna keep the arms bent at about 90 degrees. I'm going to then drop my hips down, pull these dumbbells over, let the weight win, and pull. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Okay. Ooh. So next one that we got here is going to be a split stance Jefferson curl. So we just did spinal extension. Now I'm gonna pair that with spinal flexion to try and really loosen things up in a bit of a different way. Talked about this a little bit before, but spinal flexion can be really good for footballers, because if you go and you watch the Premier League, if you go and watch any high level footballer, they have crazy extended spines. So what I mean by that is, like, if a spine has natural curves, so if this is the low back, it curves a little bit, and then it curves a little bit at the upper back, and then the same thing happens at the cervical spine or the neck. But if you look at footballers, almost all of their spines are like completely straight, which is just crazy extension all throughout the entire thing. Don't see a ton of like kyphotic footballers out there. So by giving them that flexion, it can just give them just a little bit of extra range of motion to move throughout the body. It can help keep them injury free, and it can help improve their mobility. I don't know if I'm blacking out or if that light just flickered, but if the video ends abruptly, you know why. So what we're gonna do now, split stance Jefferson curl. One foot in front of the other. For me, take a stance like you would if you're going to do a regular deadlift. I, for some reason, deadlift with a super narrow stance. Makes absolutely no sense, but that's how I'm good at producing force in this position. So, go relatively narrow stance, both feet facing forward. Then, the goal of this is to round the spine as much as possible. And we're gonna start at the top. So I'm gonna tuck my chin as much as I can. Then I'm gonna start rounding my upper back. Then I'm gonna start rounding my lower back as much as I can. I'm gonna focus on bringing my chest to my imaginary belt buckle, or you can just try to touch your chest to your belly button. It's gonna be the best way to actually round the spine. Here we go. Breathing in. Okay, and we're gonna switch. I think I might need to use some heavier weight. That helps me sink into a little bit better, but this is the first set, so. There's two things to focus on. Number one is like the width of your stance. I'm not gonna take like a split squat type stance here, super wide. So then that just kind of limits how much I can get into flexion. It's not to say it's a bad exercise, but right now it's not what I'm going for. You can widen the stance as you go throughout this exercise, as you progress it. Number two thing you want to focus on, if I'm doing this exercise, is the amount of knee bend that I get. So if I get just a little bit of knee bend, it's be a lot of stretching in the hamstrings, which is perfectly fine. If you want to get a little bit more glute and hip involved, bend the knees a bit more, and then really get into that Jefferson position. It's gonna be less hamstrings because you're doing a Jefferson variation, but at the same time, it's the same with your RDLs. It's the same with any hip hinge type of exercise. Like if you do this right now and you push your hips back as far as you can with this much knee bend, you can feel some hamstrings, but you definitely can feel the load shifted a little bit more into the glutes. And when I'm programming for someone, I don't even really think about that too much in terms of like muscle groups. I think more about positions and joint angles and different things like that, depending on what I'm going and trying to stress the athlete on. Now, I've actually made some good progress on this exercise, but today I don't think it's gonna go as well. I'm making a lot of excuses with you guys, I feel it, but my legs are just trashed, in other words. But we're gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I feel like that's one of the things that people need to understand is like you're going to feel fatigued. You're gonna need to train through that fatigue. Like it's smart to understand how to optimize your schedule and everything as best as you can, but you're never gonna feel 100% 7 days out of the week, you know? So the goal of this exercise could be to keep the legs as straight as we possibly can, and then I'm gonna go down, touch my toes, grab onto them as I drop down into as deep of a squat as I can with my heels flat. So there's gonna be some spine bending, there's gonna be some knee bending, that's perfectly fine, as long as you're pushing it here, breathing in. Not so bad, we're almost there. So I'm gonna bend, grab the toes, drop down into that squat. Hold for a second here. Again, there's gonna be some extra flexion because your arms are down, grabbing onto the toes. Breathing in, folding up. Head down. Breathing here, dropping back down. 10 to 15 reps of this. Coming up and down is 1. I didn't give you guys reps on the other stuff. That pullover is 10 reps, 2 sets, 2 to 3. Depending on how much you want to focus on mobility. And then that Jefferson curl, pretty much the same thing. Okay, feel it opening up a little bit now. Get a little bit more upright. You know when you charge your phone in the middle of the night and then some days you wake up and your phone just didn't charge for some reason? That's how my legs feel after that trail run. Not sore, but they feel like they're running on like 20% battery. Throwing them into low power mode for sure. So guys, the FA Cup finals tomorrow. I didn't even realize I'm actually wearing city blue right now. What a disaster. I don't think it's gonna go well for United. I know, that's a really, really hot take. All right, I'm gonna go into set 2 of all these exercises, not gonna record these, and then I'm going to get into the main heavier compounds of everything. All right guys, we're back. I'm going to now start to do the main compounds of this. And first one I'm going to do is a plate rotation fake throw exercise. So a lot of you ask me all the time, I don't have med balls that I can throw. I don't have all these other things. I don't have this equipment. I don't have a wall to throw against. This is exactly what you can do if you don't have that, okay? So I keep it real simple. I'm gonna grab a 15-pound plate, maybe a 25 actually. Yeah, we're gonna go with the 25. We're gonna start this heavy because I do wanna progress this in terms of slower speeds to faster speeds because that's what I'm trying to overload with this particular exercise. So we're gonna get into that here. This is just a prime exercise of if you ever go to like a commercial gym and you see someone training like an athlete and everyone's just like staring at them, looking at them like they're fucking insane. So here's what we're gonna be looking to do. I'm gonna stand right now. I'm just gonna go bilateral stance, both feet right next to each other. I'll back away a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Both feet right next to each other. I'm gonna grab onto this thing. Luckily, this is one of those plates where you actually have like the handles to grab onto. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shift into this hip and I'm gonna delay it as long as I can and then throw it to the opposite side. So my goal is really to hold into this hip for as long as I can and then last second, push that hip forward and explode to the opposite side, okay? 25 pounds, it's not gonna be too fast with this. So I'm loading, 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 like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, cool. Fucked up my hand a little bit. Same thing, opposite side here. I'm worse at delaying that left hip, and a lot of you guys are going to be too, just based on natural asymmetries that humans have. Whether you're a lefty or a righty, we all kind of have this. But still, just something to note and not an excuse to not do it. If anything, it's a reason to do it even more, okay? Delay, delay, delay. For those of you guys that don't know, I hurt my back in the stupidest way possible. My buddy and I, he's a physical therapist and a personal trainer, and he's big buff motherfucker. And we always do this competition. We call it the combine, after like the NFL combine. And we do, I believe it's 5 events. It's always bench, squat, deadlift. So we always do a powerlifting portion of it. And then we do like some type of speed, some sprint exercise. And then the 5th one is kind of like a, whatever, just pick something. So this last one we started with squat. And I already had a little bit of a back irritation that day, but I was like, fuck it, whatever. And I also never back squat because I'm not a huge fan of it for athleticism, but whatever. I was like, we're just having fun. So I get the bar on my back. I think it was like 385 or 405 or something like that. And I go down and I just feel a pop. And I still get it up luckily because of, adrenaline. I don't want this bar to just fucking smoke me. But it's the first time that I had like just the immediate reaction to like rack that bar and like just lay down immediately. I knew my back was fucked. And people will see that and they'll be like, oh, the gym does cause injuries, Matt. What are you preaching the gym for? And it's like, well, no, actually, because what I preach with the gym is, number one, it can be dangerous if you do it wrong. If you're stupid and you don't do back squats for years and then you put 400 pounds on your back, yeah, the gym can cause injuries. Of course it can. You're an idiot. I'm talking to myself here. But if I were to actually understand and not be stupid about it, I'd be like, oh, I have to back squat in 3 months. How about we start loading the bar? How about we put just the bar, depending on what level you're at? How about we throw 135 on there? How about we just do some rest, do an accumulation phase, then do a strength phase, an actual, why am I blanking on this term? Intensification phase, there we go, Jesus Christ. Accumulation phase, then an intensification phase, and then we can get you to squat, It's just like, of course I hurt myself doing that. Like, it makes complete sense. But I know the fascia boys are just gonna absolutely run with that one. Fucking dorks. All right, next exercise here, where I go into a single leg lateral flexion isometric hold, okay? So what we're gonna do for this, it's gonna be really weird. I've not done this one before. So I've done like split stance, and that's actually plenty difficult to balance just by doing a split stance variation. But now we're gonna do a literal single leg variation. One foot is lifted off. I'm gonna stay nice and tall, soft bend in this leg. See, I'm already a little bit wobbly. And then we're just gonna laterally flex here as much as we can. Sinking into it. You're gonna let this opposite leg come up a bit. Working some hip stability, some lateral flexion, keeping that spine healthy. Yielding isometric here. Ooh, I actually really like that. Oh, Jesus. With like raising the leg a little bit more, you can sink even farther into it. It's actually really nice. And usually I don't even do this for time. I just do this for breaths. I'm doing like 5 breaths, but trying to keep them like real slow. So deep breath in, deep breath out. So that's stiffer for sure. Jefferson split squat isometric. A Jefferson split squat is when you straddle the bar. So in this case, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put 1 foot forward, and I'm actually gonna elevate my front foot, which sounds fucking awful, but I'm gonna do it. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this foot back here, like I'm doing a regular split squat. And I'm gonna drop down, pick up the bar in a mixed grip. So whichever leg is forward, that palm is going to be forward. Whichever leg is back, that palm is going to be back. And the reason why is because if I'm just facing here with both arms like this, my chest doesn't turn. But if I turn this way, I'm shifting into this front leg for my chest and my hips. I'm engaging different muscles. I'm actually getting some rotation, some obliques, some hips, and we're creating something that's a little bit more specific to gait. Pretty dorky way to do an exercise that's just gonna kick your ass, but the little details matter. So here we go. All right, over here, knee is down, grip is mixed, shift it into this hip, and here we go. Oh my God. One thing that I feel like I haven't really told you guys is I have really shaky hands, just like at all times. Even when I was growing up, like it was the weirdest thing. Never consumed like caffeine or anything like that at like such a young age, And my friends would always be giving me shit for having shaky hands. So now I do these like exercises and I'll be doing like warm-up weight, you know, and I'll just be fucking shaking and people are like, oh my God, he's gonna get crushed by that 135 pound bench. And then I end up doing 225 for some repetitions. And people are just like, dude, it looked like you were struggling on that first one. I'm like, I don't fucking get it. And now I do an exercise like this where you can so visibly see me shaking from across the room. It was hard, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad to have me shaking like that. Jesus Christ. Okay, here we go. Set 2, right leg. Hard, not that bad. That's another thing that I think is super important for footballers that people don't talk about too much is doing really heavy isometrics for a short period of time. I feel like for me personally, and for a lot of my athletes, if I'm doing an isometric and I have a 15-second hold, but it's really fucking heavy, I can bear through that and I can go really heavy on an isometric exercise. But if someone tells me, do a 2-minute ISO, do a 3-minute ISO, a 4-minute, it's not that I do those exercises and I give them to my athletes. But I think they're different because it's more of a mental challenge than a physical one. Like I can almost always hold my body weight up for just a little bit longer, you know? And I think it's a little bit easier for athletes to challenge themselves for those shorter periods of time. I don't know, what do you guys think? All right, we're getting into the tertiary exercises. Again, these are actually all exercises that I've absolutely never done before. So you guys are just seeing me kind of try out some new stuff that I may put into the Complete Footballer Performance Program or might use with my one-on-one athletes. So the 3 exercises that we're gonna go for: standing assisted windmill press, overhead reach RDL rotations, and then a standing rotation row. You'll see what I mean. All right, guys, so this first one is the standing assisted windmill press. So I'm gonna take a weight, pretty lightweight at that. Then I have a bench right here. I'm gonna set my feet a little bit wider than hip width apart. What I'm gonna do is get in a windmill position. So it's laterally flexed, it's rotated, and I'm gonna put my hand on that bench, okay? So dumbbell up, hand finds the bench, I'm rotated, I'm laterally flexed. My right, or my left leg, slightly bent, breathing in, breathing out. Oh my God, damn. Now, if you guys are a stiffer footballer, one of the biggest things that I can recommend to you is doing exercises in side lying, in windmill positions, in side plank Copenhagen, side plank positions. And without getting too much into the dorkiness of it, just the way that gravity acts on our rib cage and our pelvis and our hips and all these different things when we are in side lying allows for more mobility throughout the body, especially just because we aren't often trying to produce force in that position of time. I'm not one of those PRI dorks, even though I definitely used to be, but there still are a few things that I do take from them that I do think were useful. And the expansion of when you're doing side lying exercises is definitely one of them. Next exercise, we're gonna do RDL overhead rotations. You guys are gonna laugh, I'm gonna look like shit doing this one. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take like a PVC pipe or a very light barbell. I wanna lie to you guys and tell you that this is 45 pounds, but obviously it's not. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take this, you get into an RDL position. One of my favorite cues for RDLs for people who maybe feel it too much in their low back, and I don't know why, this just like came to me for the first time in a long time. I learned this back in my Google internship, is put the hands right on the waistline right here, and then all you're gonna do is get a slight bend of legs, and then you just hide the hands. And that's this right here, this is your RDL position. I feel a ton of hamstring, feel a decent amount of glute. Like, it's the easiest way that you can visualize getting into RDL position. Okay, so you're here, slight bend, hide the hands. Then, once I'm in this position, I'm gonna take this barbell, I'm gonna raise it up as far as I can overhead, which is about here, which sucks. Rotate one way, rotate. So after you have done this with like a PVC pipe or whatever you're using, broomstick, whatever works, you can actually start to hold on to a little bit of weight there. You can use a 10-pound dumbbell or a plate. You can go to a 25. You can use a dumbbell, so you can probably have smaller incremental changes, but that is gonna absolutely light up your abs. And one of the reasons that this exercise is so beneficial is because, like, how often are we in this RDL position while getting some rotation? It's a very unique position. It's a way to challenge the back to withstand force in a little bit of a different way. And gravity is actually acting down on our spine from this position, but we're fighting it and actually creating some rotation, which just challenges the obliques a ton. I'm gonna keep this one in my routine for a while. Also, if you've been following the IG and you're an OG follower, you probably see me do an exercise where I had this on my back and I went to this position, and this looks so goofy, but you're here, you get down, and then you do it for speed, and you kind of just go back and forth as fast as you can. I'm not gonna do it. You guys are gonna laugh at me today, but it's a really good exercise. You can do this for speed, you can do it for strength, you can do it as an isometric. It just depends on what you are looking to do for your routine. But for this, 2 to 3 sets, 15 reps. For the press, I did 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps. I'm so fucking bad at giving you guys the sets and reps. I'm sorry, it's not on purpose. You know, final one was going to be that standing windmill cable row, but I kind of don't want to duplicate the same position I did on the press. It felt really good, and I'm sure that would be a great exercise, but I want to do it in a different laterally flexed position. So I'm kind of thinking about doing it. We'll figure out a way. We're gonna make a little audible here. So what I'm gonna do for this is I'm gonna go one knee down. I'm using the elevation literally just to get some type of grip because this ground is quite slick. And my knees, I'm swimming a little bit, guys, all right? So the knees down, then this leg is gonna be kicked out straight. I'm gonna find the ground with whatever hand or whichever side is kneeling down here. Find the ground, I'm laterally flexed. It's actually more difficult with this knee elevation, which is great. And then pull. So again, I'm laterally flexed and I'm rotated. This knee elevation actually acts as a way to get me even more range of motion in the lateral flexion, which I didn't even think about, but that makes complete sense. So for the opposite side, like here, knee down, leg is kicked out. This leg is even elevated just a little bit. Okay, that's hard. 1, 2. Whew. Okay, well, I mean, accidentally found something. If you want to do that and you want to get more range of motion, elevate the knee that's down and even elevate the foot that's up. Holy shit. All right, guys, well, we did it. We survived the workout after the 6-mile trail run that I did yesterday. You guys survived listening to me make a bunch of excuses to you guys. Hopefully you guys got some stuff from this routine that was helpful for you. And always, if you did, if you liked the video, if you got anything from it, please support the channel. Please like, please subscribe. We keep more of these videos coming, the better feedback that they get. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time.